the day that would live in infamy. In the words of President Franklin Roosevelt, December 7th, 1941, the day of the attack on Pearl Harbor. A week or so ago, we observed the anniversary of that tragic day in history. Having been to Pearl Harbor, maybe some of you have been there too, to stand on the site of that sunken naval battleship, Arizona, can only cause you to pause for the realization of the hundreds of bodies that went down with that ship during the Japanese sneak attack on Pearl Harbor. But, of course, history tells us that it perhaps was not all that secretive. It wasn't perhaps a secret sneak attack after all. Recently, historians tell us that American radar operators caught the signal of the advancing fleet of planes headed for Pearl Harbor. The soldiers who manned that relay station, the radar operators, paused and asked, "What should we do?" And he reported it to his superiors, and they overlooked it. And of course, that was a fatal mistake, costing hundreds of innocent lives. The gospel story has that question posed: what ought we to do? These are the very words the crowds used with John the Baptist. They knew the Messiah was coming, and they wanted to be prepared. And it's the same kind of question that we should be asking as we approach Christmas, on a week or so before the feast. What should we do? If we come up with the wrong answer, it can be as catastrophic as the fatalities on Pearl Harbor, spiritually at least. In the face of so much suffering in the world, so much sorrow, so much grief and pain, what ought we to do? If there is one word to characterize our times, it is suffering. In the most affluent society in the world, there are still plenty of people who are hurting in one way or another. And in particular, in the wake of the murders of innocent children and adults in Connecticut, at school, we all hurt, we all grieve, all concerned for the welfare of our children and the welfare of our country. What ought we to do? Blessed Mother Teresa of Calcutta asked that question in the face of so much suffering that she witnessed in Calcutta. She answered, what ought we to do? Treat others, she said, as precious treasures of God. Treat others as precious treasures of God. In other words, first of all, recognize evil for what it is. That evil always undermines our appreciation for the value of other human beings. And then fight evil with everything you have in order that you might treat others the way other people deserve, that is, to treat others as precious treasures of God. I was reading a commentary by a Catholic author by the name of Michael Brown. He's written a number of books on the Catholic faith, and in particular about signs of our times. And he wrote just yesterday, in the wake of that tragic, horrible event in Connecticut. And I think he is hitting on something that should cause us to pause in answer to that question. In the face of so much evil, what ought we to do? And this is what he said. Immediately after the Friday shooting, a trauma psychologist came on television to explain that this type of mental illness commonly presents itself in men when they reach their 20s. But she had it wrong, as psychology too often does, because while we can tag names on it like psychosis or schizophrenia or multiple personality or autism, or blame it on loneliness and dejection, the real cause hides behind and below the modern labels and is called the devil or Satan. Yes, playing on those who are misguided, Satan. Playing on the lonely, playing on mental disturbances, on personality disorders. The devil, finding access through drugs, through alcohol, through the occult, arriving where there is anger, where there is family dysfunction and breakup. There is mental illness, but this devil, Satan, nonetheless. He is what Pope Paul VI said, perverted and perverting. It was the governor who diagnosed it properly when he told reporters that evil has visited our town. It's interesting, someone remarked that the word evil is live, or live, spelled backwards. Evil, E-V-I-L, is live, L-I-V-E, spelled backwards. And it's very significant because evil turns everything upside down and twists everything and puts everything backwards. And we see that most explicitly and most dramatically and most diabolically. Evil, and it takes lives of innocent people, especially our children. We can put fancy names on it, but call it what it was. What occurred in Connecticut was the devil. And so what ought we to do? It is not until we uncover the true reason for mayhem that we will begin to solve it, says Brown. To purge it, to cast it out. It also will not be solved until we call evil what it is. Once more, the word live, L-I-V-E, spelled backwards. And stop it from infiltrating to begin with. Change occurs when it begins. True change occurs when it begins in the hearts of individuals. A lot of talk about what needs to change in our country, from gun control and all kinds of things, putting security systems in our schools, both of which have to be addressed. But what really guarantees a future for our country and for our children and for our families is the conversion of hearts. When people begin to call evil, evil, and good, good, you recognize the preciousness, the precious treasures of every human being. So what ought we to do? Examine our hearts to change where we need to change. And to ask God, first of all, to enter into our hearts and into our homes, change us where we need to change, that our values, our attitudes, our priorities, our hearts beat as one with His. This country will not change for the better until people embrace the heart of God and allow that heart and our hearts to beat as one. There's a meditation supposedly written by Mother Teresa, it talks about how we should treat other people, and it goes like this. People are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives, but be kind anyway. If you are successful and you will win some false friends and some true enemies, but succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. What you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, others may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world the best you've got anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it's between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. What ought we to do? Lord, change our hearts